Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Unless you've never been here, of course, then welcome. I'm so glad you've stopped by. Today we're gonna have a lot of fun because today we're gonna play with the Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy Palette. If you haven't seen this palette yet, it is stunning. It is full of pastel wonder, and I'm so excited to get into it. It's a bigger palette, and you know I've got to have full swatches. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So if you want to see the full swatches of the 35i Icy Fantasy Palette from Morphe, a full look, and you want to know what my thoughts are on the palette, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. First thing I have to say about this palette is this right here is beautiful. This oil slick in pastel tones. Oh, my heart. I love this. It's so cool. And like the baby blue tones with the light pink with the yellow. It's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Anyway, this is what the outside of the unit carton looks like, as you can tell. And then if we flip it over, we have all of the ingredients and the description for the palette. But I'm gonna read that off of Ulta's website because that is where I got this palette, Ulta, and I got it for $25. Now the description for the palette on Ulta's website is exclusive. You're a dreamer, Morphe babe. Escape into this icy vortex that includes matte, shimmer, and iridescent shades, plus silk slip toppers and a touch of glitter with the 35i Icy Fantasy Artistry Palette. Each color is inspired by cool pastel tones and is going to give you some chills, so go on, live your fantasy. Meet Pony Park. Oh, P.S. This is a collaboration with Morphe and Pony Park. I didn't know who she was before this. Actually, I didn't know who she was until like 5 minutes ago because I pulled up her YouTube channel and saw who she was. But apparently she's very popular and I didn't realize. Anyway, it goes on to say, meet Pony Park, makeup artist, YouTube star, Instagram icon. This stunning, super talented South Korean babe commands attention around the globe with her full face transformations and ethereal eye-catching style. Now I've been hearing quite a few mixed reviews on this palette. I've heard some people say that they understand that they're pastel shades but they should still be able to build up and they're not building up. I've heard some people say, be quiet, it's pastel shades. They don't build up. Why would you think that? So I really don't know what to think. I'm just kind of gonna go in firsthand and see kind of how it presents itself to me and use it in a way that I would normally use it in the hopes that maybe it will be good. I do truly love the color story and maybe you will too once we swatch it. So you already saw the unit carton. I'm gonna go ahead and show you a close-up of it so you can really see. This is just so beautiful. I love this so much. Like I want to keep this forever and ever just because it's so pretty. Then flip it over and the same description with the ingredient. Then we'll flip it over again and then we'll open it. And here we have the palette itself. It looks almost the same. The 35i doesn't look quite as holographic and reflective as it did on the unit carton. I don't know why, it doesn't really matter, but I just noticed it. Now if we flip it over on this side, it has just a plain pastel purple matte color with some details at the bottom. Yeah, just the address of the manufacturer. Then if we open it up, probably have a plastic sheet. Yep. We did. And again, the plastic sheet has all of the shade names, just like it does for really a lot of the Morphe palettes nowadays. And if we open her up, this is what she looks like. Ah! I know, right? Some of you guys are probably like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, you love it. Anyway, this is what the palette looks like. I think it's really pretty. I think that some of the tones have a lot of similarity, but I think it's because it's just so white, so pastel tone. So naturally, there would be a lot of semi-similar shades simply because they have that white tone in them. Actually, tilting it forward a little bit kind of helps in showing it a little bit better because you can see a little bit more variation. Anyway, but looking at it in the palette is one story, and we need to see the next story, which is all of the swatches. Now this is a 35 pan palette. I'm gonna try to put all these swatches on one arm. I'm gonna try to be very, very tiny minded when it comes to my swatches and hope that I can fit all of them on so that you can see the full color story on the hand. Since this is going to take some time, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in and we're gonna get started on the swatches. Okay, the first shade is the shade White Out. Then the shade Snow Globe. The shade Wishful. Flash Freeze. The shade Secret Escape, So Surreal, Spellbinding, Brilliant. It's like burr and brilliant, like you're freezing. It's funny. Next is the shade Euphoria, then Echo, the shade Thaw Yeah, Chill Thrill, Into the Blue, Dreamer, Get Fresh, Coral Cloud, then the shade Soar, Dazed, Cold Snap, Below Zero, then the shade Deliver Shiver, the shade Imagine, Rosy Haze, Sky High, then the shade Mystical, the shade Starlit, the shade Arctic Abyss, and the shade Holothermia. Then the shade Hush, Fierce Flurry, Avalanche, Cosmic Cool, and I'm gonna have to improvise on these last three shades here. I almost made it. It was so close. But next is the shade Frostbite, the shade Black Ice, and very last is the shade Charmed. And that is finally the entire Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy Artistry palette. And as always, I will insert photos of the swatches, one with flash here, and one without flash here. And of course, a video close-up of every shade. I think this is my favorite part of the swatches because this is where you really get to see what we're working with when it comes to each of these shades. A lot of these shimmers are a lot alike. They're very dispersed, glittery, shimmery type shades. Almost like what you would see in ice, literally, like frost. So that's interesting. Sorry I had to go so far up my hand. There's just a lot of shades in this palette. Ooh. These though. Ugh. Now that the swatches are done, I'm kind of even more excited than I was. Now at first, whenever I was swatching them and I was looking at them on the monitor just on screen, they really were kind of, I don't know, I guess like lackluster-ish. But it seems like whenever the light, the big ring light, is reflecting off of those shades, because there's so much white in them, they're reflecting a lot of light, so they don't look really that pigmented. But once I got close up, you could really see the color and the pigment that they have. They're just obviously toned down because they're pastels. That's kind of the point. Now, typically, I don't have any clue when I start what I'm gonna start with, but I have kind of an idea of what I'm gonna do today. I know, it's weird. I know what's happening here, but I'm really drawing a lot of inspiration from this. This is so cool to me. I've always loved the whole oil slick looking type texture. Granted, this is a pastel oil slick rather than a standard primary color oil slick, but it's still really, really pretty, and I love these colors together. So I did go ahead and gather up the colors that I think that I see on the unit carton. These are the shades Wishful, Secret Escape, Chill Thrill, Into the Blue, and Deliver Shiver. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my eye off camera just because we don't want to waste time, and I will be right back. Okay, my eye is now primed, and I use my P. Louise base in Rumor 01. I wanted a little bit lighter of a base since I'm working with these lighter pastel colors. I want them to be able to pop, and if I choose a base that's either the same color or deeper than my actual skin tone, it's not gonna work quite as well. So I think this will kind of help make them stand out a little bit better than what they would have if I didn't use something lighter than my skin tone. Now, I'm first going to start using my Morphe M433 brush and going into the shade Wishful. And with this one, I'm gonna start applying it right in my inner corner and build up the pigmentation so I can really see that color there. And I'm just using little tiny packing motions just to make sure that I build up the color. Don't want to do any blending out yet. And also, since I'm gonna use so many colors in the crease, or try to anyway, don't know if this will be successful, but I'm gonna try. I'm actually going to shape them in a way that makes it pretty much where I can fit more on my crease. Since I have smaller eyes, I can't really just go straight up and down with colors if I want them to look right. I need to make my eye look longer, so I tend to tilt colors whenever I do more than one in my crease so that it looks like it's kind of drawn out a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do with these colors. You'll see kind of more as I go along, but it helps to know that whenever I'm starting, because I build it toward the center and then up and over, not just straight up. I think that's all I'm gonna do with the shade Wishful. Now I'm gonna go into the shade Secret Escape, and I'm gonna use the Morphe M506 brush, another very small blending brush. Also, if it matters to anyone, the shade Wishful did have quite a bit of kickback in the pan, but not really a whole lot of fallout on my eye. So if you care about that, just so you know. Secret Escape is built up, so I'm gonna go in with the other Morphe M506 brush. This is perfect for work like this. The tiny little detail work, I love it. But anyway, I'm gonna take this into the shade Cold Snap, and I'm gonna start using this right on the center. I'm hoping that Secret Escape and this shade Cold Snap don't mix together and make a new shade. I'm hoping that they just stay beside each other, just like it is on that unit carton and the packaging. And again, right now, we are just packing on color. That's all we're doing. No blending, no special anything, just getting color built up, making sure that it exists before we try to make it disappear into other shades. Cold Snap is now applied as well. This time I'm gonna go in with my Luxie something 121 mini tapered brush. It's really, really tiny too, but it's a little bit tapered. Obviously, it's called a mini tapered brush. That insinuates tiny and tapered all at the same time. Anyway, gonna go in with this brush into the shade Into the Blue. Into the shade Into the Blue. And I'm gonna put that right beside Chill Thrill. Chill Thrap. What? Well, I feel like I'm definitely using as many shades as I can. I'm doing a crazy look for you guys, for the sake of the review. Not because I wanted to go overzealous and dramatic, but because I wanted to test lots of shadows. Now this is where, instead of making it just a solid line, I'm gonna actually increase the size of the blue up at the top just a little bit so that it makes it look like it's starting to bend backward. This is where you start making your eye look a little bit bigger, I if you do this. I don't know why you would follow this unless you just want some very pastel Eastery rainbow look. Anyway, now I'm going to use the next Luxie 131 mini angled brush and go into the shade Deliver Shiver. And again, just packing this on right on the outer edge. Also, this shade is going to be winged out a tad to add to the dimension of the look. Okay, the base color is all laid down. So you see that the pigment is built up in every shade and it's put where I want it. Now for the hard part, I guess. Really, it's just a time-consuming part. It's not even that it's a hard part, but it's just time-consuming. For this part, I'm gonna be going back in to the same shades, back in with the same brushes over and over again, and I'm also gonna go in with smaller, clean detail brushes like the Morphe M507 brush as an example, in between the shades so that they can start blending together. And I'm gonna do this just back and forth over and over and over and back and forth and over and over and over. But I'm gonna do all of that off camera because it's gonna take me 10 million years and I know it will already. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and once I do, I will come back and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Most of the blending is now done and I am in love with this. This is so fun and it's just magical. It looks magical. I feel like a unicorn. I am a beautiful unicorn and no one can take that away from me. But now I'm having trouble deciding what to do next. Oh, also, I want to let you guys know that I never even used the Morphe M507, the clean brush that I said I was going to use to go in between each shade. I just actually used the same brushes that I was using and they blended in together perfectly. They did. I mean, I didn't have to do any really extra work. And what I would do is I would just add a little bit to the brush, keep it up at the top first, blend that in tiny circular motions backward, and then make it smaller circular motions as I move down into the crease, and then bigger as I go up, smaller as I go down, bigger as I go up, so that way it has more up and out as it goes up, if that makes sense, because that kind of gives the whole eye, well, I mean, you can see it, it gives the whole eye that pulled back effect. I love this! Every time I look at it in the monitor, I get really excited. Okay, anyway, that's what I did over and over and over for quite a while. Now what I like to try and do in the hopes that I don't mess it up is take this sort of fluffy, generic, large shadow brush. It's just a flat shader brush, really. And I'm gonna go into the shade Brilliant. And I wanna see what this looks like on my brow bone. But I don't want to blend this into the shades that are on my brow bone right now. I think this is more of a top coat sort of shade, so I wanna treat it like that. I just wanna add some sparkle up there to make it look even more beautiful. So I'm just gonna lightly pat this down because like I said, I don't want to disrupt any of those shades underneath. I just want to add a highlight, a beautiful highlight. Well, it's really only adding glitter, which is fine, but I thought it was gonna look more like this. That sheen that has. I was hoping for more of along those lines, I guess. Perhaps it is my brush selection. Let me try to go in a little bit harder into it. Oh wow, that is a really soft shade. I'm literally making indents into the shade with the brush. That's how soft it is. Okay, so that's not working like I wanted. I'm actually gonna use my Morphe Continuous Mist and spray my brush and see if I can pick it up and apply it that way. I'm thinking maybe that the little glitter particles are flying around and not sticking. Well, okay, you know what? That's fine. I'm done using this shade. I'm really afraid that I'm gonna start messing up the blend that I have underneath that, and I don't want to at all. So I'm just gonna stop doing that to my brow bone, just in case. I think I just found the shade that's gonna make the magical thing happen that I wanted to happen. I'm gonna use the same large shadow brush, but I'm just gonna brush this off on the back of my hand because I don't really want all that glitter back there anymore, but it's not gonna hurt anything. I already put it up there anyway. And now I'm gonna go into the shade Fierce Flurry. Now I'm gonna toss some of that on the brow bone instead. Yes, that is more along the lines of what I was looking for. It adds just a nice radiant sheen, but it's right over those colorful matte shades. Just adds a little pop. I'm also gonna take the Morphe M416 into that same shade, and I'm gonna really intensify it right by the arch of my brow bone. I just wanna be really careful and not use a big brush to intensify it because I don't wanna get rid of it. As I've said, I wanna be really careful up here. Wow, that is so cool. It's blending in with those matte shades underneath it just a tiny little bit and turning them into shimmers, kind of. Not really, but kind of. Now that I did that, I'm adding just a little bit more of brilliant on top of that, because now that there's a shimmer down there, I can really intensify that with this. Oh, wow, it's so neat. I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, I've got to move on now. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take my Color Workshop concealer brush and my P. Louise base again, and I'm gonna cut my crease. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and do this off camera because it's gonna take me a minute, so I'm just gonna speed it up because I'm sure this video is gonna be long enough as it is. I finally finished cutting my crease and it took me forever, but it's a really clean line and I'm really proud of the line. And I also added this little like winged out shape on the side. I thought it was kind of a nice little quirk or whatever. Anyway, now I'm gonna go into 3 shades. I'm gonna be using all 3 matte shades on the lid, and then I'm gonna cover it with a glitter. So the first matte shade I'm gonna use is the shade Whiteout, and I'm gonna use that toward the inner corner. Then I'm gonna blend that into Below Zero in the middle, and then I'm gonna use Arctic Bypass on the outer edge so it can kind of go from light to dark before I put a glitter on top of it. And I'm gonna be using these 3 brushes to do that. This brush is gonna be for Whiteout. This brush is gonna be for Below Zero. And this brush is gonna be for Arctic Bypass. Oh, Arctic Abyss, not Bypass. Arctic Abyss, my bad. The white, gray, and dark gray shades are now completely blended out, and it is time to go in with the shade Frostbright. That is the silver glitter, and I'm super stoked to use that. I think I'm gonna start out with my finger on the brunt of my lid because I'm essentially just gonna cover up my cut crease with it, and then I'll go in with a smaller brush to sort of finesse the edges. I just want to be careful with it. Ooh, it's so pretty. Oh my gosh. I'm really glad I put that base down now though, because I can see the white and gray through it, so I think that's gonna be a neat effect once I get it all applied. Okay, I think that's it for the finger application. I guess I'm gonna use the Morphe M124 flat packing brush. I don't really know if it's gonna work with this shade, but it's just firm and I feel like it's gonna be able to pack it on the cleanest, maybe? I don't know, we'll find out. Okay, I definitely need to spray my brush again. Just since I'm working with a glitter, it's really hard to pick up the glitter and keep the glitter on the brush since it's not wet. Okay, that's a little bit better. I feel like I have a little more control over it now. I believe we are now good on the silver glitter. I think that was the perfect touch. It makes all of the Eastery looking rainbow really pop, and it gives it kind of that mystical rainbow type vibe. Now I feel even more like a unicorn. So now all I'm gonna do is kind of re-intensify the color that shows up toward the top of the crease where the most pigment is, and I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate that to the other eye and go ahead and finish off my face makeup so that we can do the lower lash line and finish off the look entirely so that we can get the final thoughts and opinion and really see what the look actually looks like in the end on the Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy Palette. So give me just a second to duplicate the eye and finish my face makeup, and I'll be right back. The face makeup is done. So now it's time to move on to the lower lash line, which feel very neglected at this point in time. Oh, actually, I need to fill in my waterline really quick. And since it turns out that I don't have any pastel cream gel liners or liners for the waterline, I'm just going to use my Colourpop cream gel liner in the shade Exit. It's the white one. I figure white would pair with this look just fine. White and pastels seem to always go together. Black and pastels in a different style can too, I would think. That's just more like Easter goth. So I think I'm just gonna take this Morphe M507. Oh, I have another one. My third Morphe M507. Go back into the shade Wishful, and I'm going to put this all over my lower lash line, and we're gonna see what happens. With Wishful built up on the lower lash line now, I think I'm going to blend it out with the shade Chill Thrill. I think the yellow and teal might complement each other enough to kind of bring together the top of the crease and the lower lash line again. Not 100% sure, but I think it will. Honestly, at this point, who even knows anymore? There is a rooster that keeps crowing outside, and it is about to get on my last nerve. But it is 4:30 a.m. at this current moment in time, so I can't really blame it. Lower lash line is done, and I really don't think that did anything bad. I think it added just enough color right on the lower lash line to kind of pull everything together. It still looks lifted. It didn't pull anything down. I love it. It looks nice. Okay, so now I need to put on mascara, put on lashes, and that's the end of the look. And then I get to tell you guys what I think about the Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy Palette. So the next time you see me, I'll look completely different. I have now come to the conclusion of this look. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below. I'm very curious. I want to know if you guys like the look, if you hate it, if you wish I would have used different colors, if you enjoy the colors that I did use. Just give me the tea on what you think about this look and these colors. Now, as far as what I think about the Morphe 35i Icy Fantasy Palette, I really enjoyed playing with this palette. I figured I would based on the color story that it had, but I didn't know based on quality if I was going to like it or not because I heard a lot of mixed reviews. I think something that you have to keep in mind if you get this palette or if you use this palette or are going to use this palette is that it is pastels. Pastels can only be so punchy. They can only be built up to the shade that they are. And I think we've gotten into a position within cosmetics and within the beauty community where we're used to pressed pigments and primary colors. So we see a punchy red, a punchy blue, a punchy green, and it is like the base of that color. So we get used to seeing that and it's really intense. So whenever we go in with a pastel version of that shade, even if it's built up to the max pigmentation that it can be, it seems a little lackluster or not as punchy because it's meant to be a toned down shade. I think that might be why a lot of people have the impression of it being lackluster. Then again, I can't really speak for everybody else, so I don't know. That's what I'm guessing based on the performance that I got and the experience that I had with it. I think this looks beautiful in the crease. I think the colors built up to exactly what they are in the palette. It is a full pastel rainbow essentially. I mean, it's not a rainbow obviously, but you get the idea. The glitter shade went on top of the matte shades, might I say, beautifully. However, if I did this again, what I would do is instead of just cutting the crease, I would actually go in with some micellar water and cut the crease literally, like take all the makeup off, then the eyeshadow base from cutting the crease, then all the matte shadow from the gray, well the white, the gray, and the dark gray, then the glitter. I can see on my lid that it is so thick. It is like cakey thick, but that's just because I stacked cream after powder after cream after powder and it was a little much, but it still looks absolutely beautiful from a distance. Just when you get close, that's when it's a little iffy. But aside from that, that was really the only negative experience I had with it, and that was just kind of my fault, not really even the fault of the palette. I think it's a really unique color story, and for $25, I would for sure recommend it. I think if pastel shades are something that you would like to play with or be interested in playing with, I think it's fun. It's a fun palette. If you enjoy color, it's fun. I feel like you might be able to only get like 1 or 2 neutral looks out of it, so if you only want neutrals, probably stay away from it. Not really gonna work for you. But I see this being very cute in K-pop type style. Doing like a glossy stained lip with one of these pastel shades all over the lid would be gorgeous. Gorgeous. Glass skin. Ooh. Sounds beautiful. Anyway, that is it for my review of this palette. I think it's great and I would definitely recommend, like I said. So again, let me know what you guys think about the palette as well. I want to know if you guys would get it, if you just really don't like this type of color story, just kind of what you think, you know? I want to talk to you guys, let me know. Also, if you like this look and you want to see more looks like them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. My username is the same for everything. It's just ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing out of this video, if you gain nothing out of any of my videos, please at least gain this, and that is to always remember and never forget that you are absolutely beautiful. And I love you guys. Bye.